Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. For this week, I've decided to do something a bit different than anything I've done before. Rather than point out obvious flaws in the system, this puppet has instead decided to make a difference in a different manner entirely. Instead, I've decided to put on my professor's hat and teach. Yes, viewers, this week I am doing what I call lessons for loons. These are some things that I hope can reach the cerebral cortex of at least some who have bought the woke line of delusion hook, line, and sinker. So without further ado, let's get into reprogramming lunatic minds for the sake of humanity. Class is in session. First up, class, communism never works. Yes, you heard that right. I know. That may be difficult to stomach for some watching, but allow me to expound. For followers of communist theology, please realize that no matter how good and noble the Communist Manifesto may seem in its goal of achieving a classless, egalitarian society, it quite simply is unattainable based upon uncooperative and even criminally minded psychopaths and miscreants. One only has to look at the fact that every nation that has ever existed upon the face of planet Earth has had a standing army to ward off invaders, and you quickly know the reason that communism will never work. You see, boys and girls, one basic of humanity is that there is and always will be a certain percentage of the overall population who are psychopaths and or sociopathic in nature. Yes, I realize that may be hitting some of you hard about now, but you will have to accept it as a fact. And in case you may not have noticed, no matter how well-intentioned communist societies have started, they have always, 100% of the time, veered quickly into madness and many felonies committed by dictatorial leaders to the larger detriment of their supposedly classless nations. And on a side note, if the communist societies were indeed classless, as Marx and Engels described them to be in their Communist Manifesto, why would there in fact be insane dictators at the top anyway? Yeah, I think you can all see right now, students, why communism is a pie in the sky at the best and murderous at its worst. And while on that topic of murderous at worst, let's look at the next point to be made in this week's primer for the criminally woke. Defunding the police is an overall bad idea. Yes, you heard this puppet right, class. Now hear me out on this before getting too up in arms. So it seems that during the summer of Biden love that ensued in 2020, and directly following the killing of one George Floyd, it quickly became the fad for many loons to quickly call for defunding of police nationwide within the United States of America. Now, no matter how well-intentioned that may have been on the part of many, it never was carefully thought through to its destructive end by those who vehemently espoused it. Ever heard of babies in bathwater? Back to my previous point about communism, my students, and other studies. Wherever insane individuals abound, a powerful and moral police force will always be a necessity. I realize that police alone are never the complete solution to curtailing criminal elements within any culture. They are, however, necessary all the same. Unless you want a quick descent into complete and unabated anarchy, and I believe anyone who thinks it through to its conclusion will realize that they do not want that, no way, no how. Yes, there are corrupt and criminal police officers, and that is very unfortunate. But let that never distract us from the overall picture. Be thankful for a well-funded and capable police presence if you truly want any kind of peace in this life. The alternative never ends well. Okay, students, listen up. No sleeping in this class will be allowed. My next point in today's lecture is that DEI and affirmative action initiatives never are in our best interest and often lead to systemic abuses that are horrendous in nature and in scope. Quiet down. Any more outbursts like that and I will get the dean involved. Do you want that? Yes, you heard me right, class. Despite decades of abuse for universities and corporate institutions in this nation, it has to be faced that we did no one any favors with our societal penchant for promoting people based solely upon color of their skin. No matter how well-intentioned you may be in trying to right the wrongs of slavery and Jim Crow atrocities, DEI and affirmative action are never the answer. Period. What in reality we ended up with in following these ill-thought-out plans were woefully inadequate people in positions of authority over people who were supposed to be equally and fairly represented, but in actuality were not. You had majority citizens with the necessary academic qualifications and achievements denied entry into prestigious universities simply due to their not meeting the fad skin color of the day. If that is not reverse discrimination, then nothing is. And to what greater goal does it actually serve the national good? Maybe it gives up a false image of being an all-inclusive, woke country on the world stage, but who cares about that if tomorrow's medical breakthroughs are never realized because underqualified individuals were unfairly promoted to positions they never deserved based upon their merits alone? Wise up, my students. Wise up. And the final topic for today's lesson, students, before the bell rings, is why we'll never travel to, or much less inhabit, the planet of Mars. Yes, I heard a few gasp on that one, but it is true whether you like it or not, and here's why. No matter how enamored you may be with Elon Musk and SpaceX, you have to take your blinders off for a bit and open those eyes and ears to catch a bit of factual reality on this topic, please. For starters, Mars is far from Earth. Yes, in fact, it is on average 140 million miles between the third and fourth planets, respectively, from the Sun. Because their orbits are eccentric around the Sun, there are closer points between both, and there are further points between both. Based upon that, it would take about 9 months to travel to Mars, and about 3 years travel time returning to Earth, considering that the longest one human being has ever lived in outer space continually is 438 days, or roughly 14 months. What are the ramifications of that? The medical data to date on effects of longer time spent in low gravity environments on the human body are not promising, and anyone voyaging to the red planet and back will suffer osteoporosis throughout all the bones in their bodies, along with muscular degeneration and detrimental cardiovascular issues. Now let us also look at the Martian ecosphere in this conversation. Mars has only 1/4 the gravity of planet Earth, so that low gravity is going to play havoc on anyone's sense of balance, bone density, etc., especially for those who might permanently inhabit it. Also, since that low gravity has allowed what remained of any Martian atmosphere over millennia to drift away, the constant exposure to dangerous solar radiation on the human bodies there will prove dangerous in the least and lethal in the worst. So, in order to minimize the risk of severe radiation exposure, any Martian immigrants are going to have to immediately get busy either constructing some lead-lined inhabitable structures or burrowing underground to live like moles. But imagine doing that work in a constant ambient temperature of minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 60 degrees Celsius. Colder than Siberia, class. These Mars travelers had best be wearing some serious thermal underwear and socks, or they're going to become popsicles rather fast. Now, throw into that mix the fact that there is no breathable oxygen on Mars, and also no potable water available either. Your spaceship has some in store, but that is finite and a limited supply. You're going to have to get to work fast planting some trees, right? But it is too cold there to sustain plant life, so those will need to be contained inside some heated greenhouses. But doesn't creating heat for your own living quarters in those greenhouses require some sustainable energy supply? Yep. But there are no fossil fuels on Mars, so better get that nuclear generator set up and going pronto, or the mass solar panels set in place. Hop to it, students. Get going. Oh, and sustainable food sources? Well, there are no green pastures for your cattle or sheep to graze, so what to do now? I think you begin to see, class, that Mars is a frozen hellscape, and that Elon Musk is smoking some strong herbs. Oh, by the way, have any of you checked the successful launch rate of SpaceX over its short history? Now, how much faith are you willing to give them getting you safely to and from the red planet yet? Class dismissed. Good night, my loyal viewers, and sleep well.